This week on Dumb Pitches, my guest is hilarious comedian and that 90s kid, Kelsey Cook, who has a terrible idea. What if you had a Tamagotchi, but you gave it drugs and you could see what happens when you give a Tamagotchi drugs? I don't know. We'll have to decide. Is this a good idea? I'm not sure. Here we go.
What a bunch of dumb pitches. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Pitches. I'm Monica Nevi, your host. Our small business sponsor this week is ComicNateCreates. Nathan is using his woodworking skills to help you grow your own food. So he offers a grow kit where you can either put it on the countertop or mount it on your wall. And also other woodworking things. So you can do personalized lamps that are meant to memorialize a lost loved one, a business logo, or display a word or phrase of your choice. And a portion of the proceeds go to feeding the homeless population in his city. So check out ComicNateCreates. All right, I'm welcome. My guest this week, Kelsey Cook, is here. Hi, thank you for being here. I'm very excited. We are friends in real life, so it's always worked out. I mean, I tell people that at least. She's like, don't stop telling people that.
Please stop. We have been friends for a very long time.
Yeah, it's always funny because people could tell on these episodes. They're like, oh, obviously you guys know each other because you mess with each other the whole time. And I was like,
oh, yeah. I've slept in your childhood bed.
You have. So have I.
That's when you know.
No, yeah.
It's just me.
Yeah, you know my mom. That's good. Yeah. My parents. First of all, we always like to start by giving people a little credibility, and so that everyone knows you've had some good ideas. So
that's nice.
Kelsey's good ideas. They are plenty. She's been on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. She has a podcast very successful called Self-Helpless. You were on A Little Late with Lily Singh. You have another web series called Wrists of Fury, where you just kick people's asses in foosball, which is very fun to watch. You're on This Is Not Happening, telling a story. You have an album that's very hilarious called Savor It. And pretty recently you had a special, or a set, I don't know, a special, I guess that's the way you call it, on Epics on unprotected sets. So lots of stuff you can check out. Plenty of good ideas. Very hilarious stand-up comedian in my opinion anyways. So you're a good person. Don't worry about what happens next.
Oh God.
No, I'm just kidding. So when I asked you and kind of explained it to you, what were some bad ideas or a bad idea that you thought of?
So I was thinking on this, and your list of potential categories for what a bad idea could fall under. One of them you said drug mixtures.
Yes.
Drug concoctions.
I keep putting that in the list, hoping somebody will have a story, and no one has. So this is great.
Well, today's your day.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna lie. I took an edible last night and I drank some magnesium to try to just like kind of chill out before
calm
bed.
Down for sure.
And I got what I guess would only be described as like a high bad idea. And that is the thought that what if there were Tamagotchis for kids, you know?
Okay.
But you could, instead of just feeding the Tamagotchi food and trying to keep it alive that way, the kids could feed it different drugs.
Okay.
Different drinks, different substances, basically, to teach kids what happens when you give somebody or some creature these substances to help. It's kind of like a DARE starter program.
I was going to say, is it sponsored by DARE?
Sponsored by DARE.
First of all, how very 90s of you, how very 90s kid of you to think one of Tamagotchi and second of DARE. You're like, what?
I mean, I permanently live in the 90s. That's where I would prefer to just hang out anyway.
Agree with that.
So am I aware that is a horrible idea and you should not give children some sort of device where they have the ability to feed it meth, like virtual meth.
I like that. I didn't even think of meth. I was like, we got a gateway drug into the Tamagotchi drug world, you know? But yeah, you
Just
could
thought
give
maybe it would like be a scared straight situation where they would see horrible effects happen, and then they would know when they got older and got offered a drug, they'd go, oh, well, no, because I've seen what it does.
which is interesting because I do
gosh.
think that was the whole point of Dare, but I don't know if it worked. It just taught us a lot about how to do drugs. I think about that because I learned a lot of how to do drugs or what things, which I don't even know if we should put this on. There could be children watching right now or listening. But, you know, because there's like household items that you're like, oh, that can, if you take enough of that, it's a hallucinogen, you know, which you don't learn until you, you know, learn about it in school or whatever. You're like, there's no way I would have known that people take a bunch of Benadryl or whatever. So that, okay. I mean, honestly, now I want to play with this. Like, did you have Tamagotchis as a
I
kid?
did.
You did. Okay. I never had one. Everyone else always had them. And I didn't really know. So you just feed it and stuff. I had a Furby. That was the worst.
I had a Furby too. It's been a long time since I've seen a Tamagotchi, but from what I remember, you were supposed to it was like a virtual pet, right? You were supposed to try to keep it alive. So you could feed it and give it water and
Did it make
like
noise
that.
and stuff?
I think so.
Okay.
Again, I don't remember a ton about it, but it was a good little 90s gadget.
Yeah, comment all your memories of Tamagotchis about how they worked. Well, because then I'm thinking like seeing the actual effects of the drug. Well, if you make it now, I suppose the actual like graphics and stuff would be a lot different than 90s Tamagotchi snake version, you know? It's like,
right.
I think that's an egg. Okay, so it'd be more, you could see it. Because then you'd want to actually see the effects of whatever the drug was. Or do they just die every time? Is that your Dare program?
I think they eventually either die or they get very close to death and need a lot of help. But I grew up in Cheney, Washington, and for whatever reason, there's been quite a lot of drug use of people coming out of Cheney. Primarily with people who kind of stay in the area.
Okay.
And because Cheney is like, there's really nothing to do. And so I think it's easy for people to get kind of caught in a loop of you start doing drugs and then that's what the entertainment is. But I have always been such a square. I've never done more than just drink or, you know, in more recent years, even with
Magnesium, you've experimented.
Magnesium. You're real loaded on my natural calm supplement, raspberry lemon flavor.
Hey, I have that one.
It's so good. It's
good.
Really like it just feels like a weighted blanket on your body. It's very comforting.
It is. I mean, that's what sometimes if you have kind of anxiety, it's just a magnesium imbalance. Anyways, okay.
Yeah, it's so nice. But yeah, I didn't have an edible or get high until I was maybe like 27 or something like that, 28. I didn't even dabble with weed until later in life and have never tried anything else.
Do you think that's from Dare?
Absolutely.
You're the one Dare success story.
I've just always been such I don't know.
But other
bummer.
people, where you're from, were clearly it was available to you or talked about when you were younger, but you still abstained.
Yeah, just the thought of it really scared me. The thought of it scares me, but there's also a very fascination for me with how drugs affect people because it's so foreign to me. Okay. So have you ever just Googled like faces of meth or things like that?
I mean, no, but now I will.
Me neither.
No, I mean, I've seen some, okay, this is weird, but I've seen like a lot of mugshots, I guess, of people who like got arrested. So my last name, Nevi, is like the plural word for moles. In Latin, in like dermatology, and so which my dermatologist thinks is fucking hilarious every time, but whatever. She's taken photos of my tattoo, because I have a Bud Light logo tattoo that has my last name in it. She's like, "That's hilarious. Could I take a picture of it?" I'm like, "Sure."
Oh my god.
To show her friends. She didn't even realize it was a Bud Light logo. Anyway, but so I eventually down in my own Google search, Monica Nevi, pops up a story about a woman named Monica Moles who who got arrested because her meth lab blew up. So I've seen not just from that, but that is pretty my other dimension personality or whatever. Monica Moles is a meth addict.
There's there's your Black Mirror self.
Yeah.
Your upside down self.
Yeah.
There's
You
you and I for many years. I lived in Seattle for 4 years, and you grew up in that kind of area. And I used to have a day job right in Belltown, like in that super sketchy. And I would take the bus to work. And I think everybody kind of has a fascination with seeing somebody on the street, like freaking out on drugs. And
you can't. It's like the same way a car accident. You're like, I'm gonna watch this.
Right. Well, it's a human being that's having a completely different experience than you, and you're kind of just the psychology of it. You're kind of interested in like what is happening in their brain right now. I wonder what they are seeing that I'm not seeing. And so even though I would never.
So you wouldn't want to, but you want to live vicariously through your Tamagotchi.
Yeah, or just I don't know why. I remember there was a girl on America's Next Top Model who had a rough go after the show and got into drugs, and I think Dr. Phil like helped her recover or something. But anything like something so wild to me about somebody who has a seemingly normal life and then just watching how drugs affect the mind and body. There's something about that that's really interesting to me.
The full-on addiction, because that would be an interesting part of a Tamagotchi experience. If you give it a little bit of drugs and then you can see what does that turn into an addiction? Does that change their personality? Do they start stealing out of your purse? If your Tamagotchi is still out of your purse. But it is, because I am always fascinated by that. I don't think it's a secret, but I've done more drugs than you have, and never really liked it. I don't. I like drinking probably more than I should, but I like the harder stuff because I've done cocaines and stuff like that, and just never really felt like I wanted to go back. That's me censoring myself. Never really felt like I wanted to do more right away or anything, but I know that that's an experience that other people have, and so that is interesting, especially with like meth, like watching someone, because it doesn't look fun to me. That you and I both have anxiety. It's like, you want to speed this up?
Of course not. Yeah, I think Breaking Bad was such an incredible show. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But I think that was an element to it too, that people were so enthralled watching these actors. They seemed, again, I don't know what it's like to be on meth, and I haven't seen somebody on meth like right next to me in my experience, but to see some of these actors do what felt like a very accurate portrayal, you just can't look away.
Well, and those people are pretty into their acting. Not that, but those are solid actors. So I'm sure they did some research, to actually see what it's like to be on meth.
Yeah.
So then we have to do research to be like, how would that affect a Tamagotchi if you did give it a little bit? Because you want it to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah. And let me just continue to remind the listeners, this is a bad idea. This is what the show is.
We all buy it. We have investors. They're texting already. They want.
I'm not trying to get this made. It's a bad idea. But I don't know. That's what the show is.
Yeah, it's not supposed to make sense. And we also like it when it has not been developed at all. So you can't really stand up for it much. Because I like the idea of there being... Was there a point system in Tamagotchis before? Like, did you like earn points and then feed them? Or did you... I don't know. Maybe it was just health in general. What a fun prize. Health.
Health. Good cholesterol.
Because it would be like, what if you... don't OD your Tamagotchi. Do you get some points? Do you get there's life experience? How maybe if you get them through a successful treatment program.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you get
I don't know how that would work. I don't know that it's necessarily to win. I think it's more just it would be for kids to have a safe way to see what would happen to them if they had drugs in their system.
Yeah, nice. It would scare them. That's good.
I'm gonna be a great parent someday.
Perfect. I mean, I am currently parenting and would love to scare him out of doing drugs or anything.
Yeah. Did you have Mr. Yuck stickers growing up?
Yeah.
Just thinking of, because you were talking about substances, like you didn't know that Benadryl could.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Whatever and stuff like that. And yeah, I was just very much playground monitor vibe growing up. I was just Mr. Yuck on everything, and if kids were doing things that were unsafe, I would tell them so. If there's a little playground in Northtown Mall where I really truly feel like that's where COVID originated. It's just like the most disgusting, like kids going down that slide bare asshole and kids sucking on the steps of this. I mean, it's just a disaster. It was like made of foam. It was just horrifying. And
that's really gonna hold some germs in there.
Yeah, I was raised in that playground. It was just a sponge. And kids much older than me and much bigger, I was very small, would climb, like boys would climb up the slide, and I would go up to them and I'd say, "Excuse me, you cannot climb up the slide. You have to go around because people are trying to go down the slide." I remember my parents would see me doing that, and they said it was so funny to watch these like kind of older boys just like look down at me like,
really, who are you?
What the fuck is this? Like, get out of here. But
I like that you weren't afraid. I didn't talk to anybody, so that's good. Yeah. Those outspoken, sometimes you see an outspoken child and you're like, oh no, they're going to be like, the extroverted life of the party, got to talk all the time person. And it's like, no, maybe they'll just just follow the rules. Hey.
I was just very much into like justice and order. And
yes, this is what the rules are and you need to follow them.
Yeah, I didn't like people fucking it up, because it's like, if I have to do it, that's why I've said this on podcasts before, but one of my biggest pet peeves is when people don't return their grocery cart to the return area, because it's like, this is a societal
like it's a social contract. You're supposed to bring it back,
or else it's chaos. It amazes me. People will go so far out of their way to not just do the thing. It's like they're never more than 30 feet away. And I see when you roll up to a grocery store and you see that people have like hoisted them into the median. Like,
oh, right. Yeah, it's like 2 wheels trees up. Yeah.
And I'm like, that had to be way harder. Just walk it.
It was more work.
You godless animal. Who raised you? Raised by wolves, these people. And so I've said this before on podcasts, and it's funny because one guy who actually was, he bagged groceries at a grocery store, and he goes, it's funny because when the weather's nice, we actually are so happy when people don't return them, because then it gives us an excuse to be outside longer.
To go walk around.
Collect them. And I'm like, don't encourage these people.
Right.
These are people who think they're better than others, who are, I'm an influencer and I don't have to. Like, we cannot give these people
I like that
an ounce.
I have over 10,000 Instagram followers, so that means I don't have to put my shopping cart back. Like, those
LA,
are the rules.
man.
Yeah. That's hilarious. But that bothers me. Now, I do try to follow the rules for the most part, and I get a little bit nervous about not doing so. But it bothers me when you're like, this is the rule, and then someone goes, oh, but whatever, just do it anyways. Or, oh, we like to go and get it. I'm like, don't tell them that. It's a rule for a reason, damn it. That bothers me more than anything else. I was like, don't, which is, I mean, maybe why, because I didn't do drugs until later. Like, I smoked weed and stuff in college, but that was pretty much it. Didn't do anything harder until afterwards. And I think that was part of it was like, no, I've been told that it's not good for, it's not good.
Right.
But then you're like, but so many people do it. There's got to be something fun.
Right.
Maybe
Not
some
just doing this
reason.
for no reason. Yeah.
Right. So maybe that would give you a little bit of satisfaction of being like, okay, at least I can see what it's like to do this drug because my Tamagotchi has been asleep for 14 hours or it has not slept and cleaned their entire little Tamagotchi area.
Right. Clean this little pen. Yeah. I just think I think the DARE program probably tries to go, okay, this is what's out there, so let's make people aware of it. But it could be nature and nurture for me. But growing up, my mom was always very like, look, you're in high school now. I'm sure some of your friends are starting to drink. Just want you to know that if you want to do that, I just want you to be safe about it. I would always prefer that you do it here at home, as opposed to, but I never had anything to rebel against. I don't think I would have wanted to anyway. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's just some nature component of that and who I am. But there was no need to rebel against anything. But I think if you were to, again, this is a bad idea, but if you were to show kids at a young age, like, hey, these are the things that are out there that you're going to encounter when you're older potentially. And this is the reality of what can happen if you have these substances, then I think, I don't know. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
It's very cute though that your idea is like, but it could help the kids. Maybe they'll be they'll be good.
It's for the children.
It's for the children.
Really,
when Kelsey takes edibles, she's just thinking about children.
How can I save the children?
Right. Well, because I'm like, I want to see, of course, and I think, well, maybe not kids because they don't know enough about it, but if a teenager or some college kid had it, it'd be like, well, let's give it all the heroin and see what happens,
Right.
Like my Tamagotchi has died 52 times. And so,
cannot keep it alive. Yeah.
And then you find a good balance of upper and downer,
It just has such a bad backfire. All of a sudden these kids are like professional drug users. They're like, well, I take a little meth, but then I do a little coke, and then I do this.
Right, yeah. It'd be like, oh, that lady, I think she's about to OD. Give her some Xanax. I know how to do this. Like, it's
I got it. I learned it when I was 4.
No. This happened to my Tamagotchi once. Hold on. Do you have a different name for it? Have you thought of a name?
I haven't, but I'm sure we could think of one right now.
The audience sometimes is pretty good at coming up with ideas as well. But it's okay. So a Tamagotchi where you give it drugs. It's just the idea is so simple, but it's still. I feel like that was some coder, some video game designer was like, there's probably a cheat code in some games or some Tamagotchis where it's you could feed in The Sims where you're like, here, you can give them meth.
Infiltrate it. Yeah. Really crank that Sims party up.
Yeah, they would just be, they'd swim even faster in that thing. Oh, okay. All right. I'll think about a good
we need to sit on it for a little bit.
Product name.
But yeah, that was my one bad idea. I was really struggling to think of something, and then I was hit with that. I was like, well, you know what? This is all I can think of, and it's truly terrible. So
no, that's hilarious. And honestly, like some of my favorites on the show have been just like inventions, I guess you would say, whatever, something like that just they're like, I really haven't thought about it much. Because then you get to dive in and go, what would it be like if I had a Tamagotchi that I could give drugs? What would I do? That's the first question. Do you go all, what kind of person are you? I think that says a lot. It's like a BuzzFeed quiz. It says a lot about what type of person you are based on how much drugs you would give your Tamagotchi immediately. Would you ease them into it? Would you try to find a balance, or would you just shoot them all the way up? That's the term, right? Shoot them all the way up.
Medically speaking,
you shoot them all the way up. Oh, goodness. Well, I think it's a lovely bad idea. And I can't wait to hear some sweet product titles. So you're out doing live shows again.
I am.
Good.
Yep. I'm at the Comedy Club of Kansas City, May 20th through the 22nd. And my Washington, D.C. dates just got rescheduled for July 8th through the 10th. So there's lots of other ones coming up. If you go to kelseycook.com, you can see tour dates there. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Kelsey Cook Comedy as well.
Oh, yeah. She's an influencer. That's why she doesn't put her grocery carts back. That's fine. I don't know. I like that voice for it, though. You're like, I don't know. That's how you read the captions on all of them. It's just like,
I'm an influencer. Yeah, just the worst.
#ad. Now, great. Well, go check out Kelsey's stuff and check her out live if you can. It's wonderful. Also, do all the things here. When you subscribe if you're on YouTube, follow on Spotify, rate and review, subscribe on Apple, whatever. They're all different. Whatever you're doing, do the thing. Give it as much drugs as you can. Check out because we're monetized on YouTube, just push, there's a drug button now, push that.
Oh my god,
we do have, that's funny though, we do. So if you're not on YouTube memberships, do it. You get early access to these episodes, you get bonus episodes of my bad ideas. There's also full stand-up sets on there, but you also get custom emojis that you can use in comments and in chats, and one of them is a rolled up dollar bill. It's from jokes like in some of the live streams we've done, but the guy who was making them for me was like, is this a drug reference? And I was like, well, yeah, but let me explain why. It's not just like everyone's
my merch
doing
guy
coke.
he knows so much about me, like this poor man. And I have a joke about peeing in the shower, and then it kind of like people in my stories started to be like, we want merch and all this. So now I'm making Tinkle Gang merch, and I have to tell the merch guy, hey, I've got the design, but I need you to actually like make shirts with this. And I'm sure he's just gonna be like,
oh god, what now?
God, Kelsey, okay. Like the shit that has gone through this man's inbox.
Those are good ideas too. What a weird Tinkle Gang. I almost wore my Wrist of Fury shirt actually, but it's cold. I
love the Wrist of Fury.
And they're very soft.
Right? See, I do good merch,
it's good merch. So this guy, thank you for dealing with Kelsey's weird merch requests, because it's quality stuff, you know. Good. Okay, yes. And then memberships. What else? I don't know. Check out Third Wheel Podcast Studio if you want to make a podcast, or you need some other professional recording. There's one in Los Angeles and one in Seattle. And ComicNateCreates. It's going to be great. But right now, why don't you just keep watching Dumb Pitches?
You're weird.
Yes.